there are 3 limiting factors. Welcome to day 194 and I'm a YouTube millionaire. There are 3 limiting factors in this process, whatever it is. The process of saving souls on earth. The process of squeezing as much juice out of the orange as one possibly can. The maximal amount of suffering to precipitate the maximal amount of empathy, and therefore the maximal number of hearts that are turned from stone to flesh in whatever experiment, program, this whole suffering paradigm is. Okay? The one of which I was discussing in previous videos, about how I'm pretty sure my job on this planet, me specifically, is to suffer. And that's okay. I mean, it's not okay. I don't like it. I really don't like it. It's unfortunate that somebody would have a job like that. But when you're dealing with the abyssal depths of pure negativity and darkness, you know, desperate times call for desperate measures. And require unconventional means to defeat such a force. There are 3 limiting factors. The first one is the individual in question who is acting as the sponge. In this case, this hypothetical, since there is no actual proof as to what's going on, that is me. I explained in previous videos how I act as the human sponge, soaking up all of the negativity of the world as best I can, kind of like a karmic sink, in a different manner to what Jesus did. Jesus did it at a specific point and basically opened the door for everybody to be saved. What I'm doing is sucking up all the vestiges of the nonsense of the garbage creator on this planet, the demon. All right, that's my job. So I'm the first limiting factor. And if I were to fail in this hypothetical, this is a hypothetical, Jesus would come in. He would step in, just like it says on that vanity card that I showed you guys a couple days ago, and take over. He would sweep us all away, get us out of the mess, those who have been proven to genuinely follow him and love him, or even those who don't want to be with the darkness, frankly. Because if in a bimodal system, if you don't want to be with the darkness, you really can't be a fence sitter. You're de facto with God, because the devil owns the fence. I believe C.S. Lewis actually made a short analogy or story about that, how the devil owns the fence. Those lukewarm are spat out, as is said in the Bible. Okay? So that's the first limiting factor. Jesus will come in and sweep us all away. The second limiting factor, if humanity loses their nerve in whatever this process is, that is, people simply stop trying. They don't agree with what's happening, and that doesn't happen very often because they see the results of it. They're given the evidence of those results. That is, every last ounce of suffering that this person experiences ends up saving another person. You don't see where, you don't see how, but it ends up turning their hearts from stone to flesh, and they become human again. Kind of interesting, the parallels with the book No Longer Human that I read a while back. Their heart turns to flesh, and they suddenly can feel again. They're no longer numb. They're no longer empty vessels, or even worse than NPCs and not even existing without an internal dialogue. So that's the second limiting factor. It's kind of like an experiment, how you have titration, right, of chemicals and stuff, and you have limiting chemicals and all that. I forget the term for that, but you can find it pretty easily online. And then the third limiting factor, obviously, is God. Jesus. When he decides that he doesn't want to go any farther, and he doesn't like seeing the suffering of either humanity or his warrior doing the job for him, and he'll step in. He'll make that decision. Now, I'm of the mindset that he probably has a specific period in mind where if I don't give up and humanity doesn't give up, which is a win-win, by the way, that he will decide to step in one way or another. So those are the three limiting factors. I think Jesus wants this, we're butting up against the third one right now. Because if I, the sponge, do not break, right, or get saturated, if you will, and stay saturated, and humanity doesn't lose their nerve in continuing the pain process, whatever that is, then there comes a point where you've gotten everybody. And the only entities left are those who have committed the unforgivable sin to sin against the Holy Ghost, which is to know that the Holy Ghost is who and what the Holy Ghost is and still defy it. So those people, perhaps 144,000 of them, I don't know, commit the unforgivable sin. They are the abyss. There is no way to save them, or they're with the abyss one way or another. And Jesus says, okay, I'm stepping in now. You did your job, good job, good and faithful servant, and takes over. Ends the charade for what it is, pulls us all out, and that can take many forms. Either we can collapse the timeline to where it happens specifically at this point in history, the convergence of reality, and we don't have to jump to other timelines. Or, like a polyp, we pop off of this one and are raptured away. Now, what I mean by that is, a rapture in this sense is basically a time skip, okay? A period of time where there's tremendous tumult and destruction across the entire planet, where everybody who's decided they want to be with Jesus would have passed away in that tumult. So Jesus decides to take them away so they can skip over that spot and just be with him, right? That's what that is. It's just a time skip, essentially. That's when I say time skip, that's what I mean. And I had mentioned time skip in an episode a long time ago. It was probably a couple months ago. And that's what I mean by that. But if you endure to the end, then the timeline is collapsed to be exactly at the point where there is no longer any destruction, aside from the abyssal creatures that will not be saved. So at that collapsed point, if we get there, then we can know for certain that we've gotten pretty much everybody, or we have gotten everybody that can be gotten. And the only way to get more than that is to convert the abyss into not the abyss, which I guess is technically possible, because if you can imagine it, it is, but that's going to be saved for another part of the story for later. Once we get out of this mess, then we can consider trying to pull them out of that. But not now. Not now. It is a triage situation. And to sink excessive amounts of energy and time into that will take away from the souls that can be saved in the meantime. So, 3 different limiting factors. The sponge, the whole of humanity, and Jesus. I don't think the sponge has ever given up. And I think humanity is keeping their nerve up. Jesus will be coming soon. Alright. That's what I got for you guys today. An interesting hypothetical. Love y'all.